Hello and welcome back to the Elevate Your Running podcast. This is Coach Sarah, and today I'm here with Stephanie Dyer, and we're going to talk all about longevity, mindset, performance as a grand masters runner. Stephanie and I just spent the last 10 minutes talking offline, and we're in for such an awesome episode. Hey, Stephanie, how are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much.
Oh my
Great to
gosh.
be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. You reached out
Thank you.
maybe a few months ago and, really wanted to be on the podcast, and you have an incredible story, and I think just knowing that story and listen and having a conversation with you over the last 10 minutes or so, I think there's going to be a lot of nuggets of information that all runners of all kind can practice and take with them into their training cycle. I know some of the things that we talked about over the last 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, I wish I knew this 6 months ago. It would have saved me a lot of stress and a lot of changes in life, and being able to apply it to our training and have this really beautiful balance with training, life, being an older runner. Every year we're older and older, right? And how that kind of can translate into maybe some of our best years. So I'm really excited about this convo. Stephanie, before we begin, I'd love for you to share with our audience who you are, and give a little bit of your running background with all of it.
Excellent. So I am a mother of three, and I've been running since 1987, when I would basically put down my tennis racket after competing when I was younger in tennis.
Okay.
And little did I know, picked up a pair of running shoes when I got to Boston College, just to, relieve stress and, run off the beer and kind of stay in shape. And I had no idea it would turn into 34 years now of just a passion for running that I have, and 32 marathons later. But I started running, and it was not love at first sight at
Okay.
all. I started running and it was very difficult, but I stuck to it. I remember my first 10-mile run and it felt like an eternity. And I thought, how would I ever run anything longer than 10 miles? But I hadn't put the reps in. Sometimes we don't know it's on the other side. We just have to train our mind and train our body, and then everything falls into place. So if you're new to running, I would encourage you, if it's hard right now, just give it some time. I had to give it some patience. Now, when I crossed that finish line of my first marathon, that was love at first sight, and there was no turning back for me. And that was my senior year of college. So I spent 4 years just running, doing life, having fun. And Marathon Monday happened to be a very inspiring day for me because at Boston College, you're right on Heartbreak Hill, for those who don't know that course. And I have a sister who was a marathon runner, and I thought, that would be really fun. I'd love to do that one day. And I thought, well, I'm here. I might as well run my senior year. So I did. Uh, and Like I said, once I finished that race, I was hooked.
Oh my gosh, that's so incredible. So was it really like love at first, like crossing the first marathon finish line, or did it take like a day or two for that love to kind of come around? Because I've heard it both ways, and I experienced it like I think a few days after finishing my first marathon. I think after I've crossed the line at CIM, I was like, never again.
Valid, valid. And I've had a few of those too, where why did I do this to myself? And
Oh,
then it wears off like child labor. It's like, oh, sign me up for the next one.
yeah.
I would have to say, now, you're challenging me because that was a long time ago, but
Yeah.
from memory, I do remember this bliss. So there's no other feeling, the feeling of crossing a finish line of a marathon is indescribable in the most beautiful way. I think you're depleted emotionally and physically, but for me, it's also this feeling of accomplishment and satisfaction and, oh my gosh, I just did this. And that's less than 1% of the population. You don't think of it at the time, but it's a bliss. It's a high. So whether it's immediate or whether it's shortly after, I really don't remember that. But
Yeah.
it was enough to where I remember thinking, oh, I can't wait to do another one. And so I did said I think I did New York next, and then I've been doing I've just completed my 18th Boston Marathon. So that's obviously my favorite for a lot of reasons. But yes, I think it was almost love at first sight.
Oh my gosh,
A
that's
little
so
addicting.
yeah, that's so incredible. I really love that, and
Yeah.
that you have stuck with it over all of these years. So you've run over or you've run 18 Bostons and
Hmm.
you've run over 30 marathons. Which one was your favorite marathon to run out of all of them?
It's a really hard question,
Ooh, I know.
but I would have to say if I had, can I rank my top
Yes,
three? Because they're
top
really
3. That's
close.
probably better.
Boston is to me, I have a special place in my heart for Boston. My best friend still lives there. Obviously, I went to college there. We'd watch Marathon Monday. We used to hand out beers, and then I went, translated to running it. But there's just the spirit of Boston is
Mm.
just unlike any other. The crowds, there's so much to the inspiration that race brings, the history. So I would say Boston is my favorite, and a close second would be London and
Mhm.
Sydney.
Oh,
Those
nice.
two were just electric. The
Yeah.
energy, and not everyone loves the big city marathon feel. Some people go for scenery, some people go for the more rural feel, and everyone's different. But for me, I just really pull from the energy of the crowds, and the courses are so beautiful. So I would say those would be my top three.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I think majors have something special. It's definitely crowded out there, but it does
Yes.
keep the energy high. And I think specifically for me that helps me run a better race. Like it just helps me keep going when people are,
Yes.
yelling out your name and there's just that continuous cheer squad on the side. Of the route. I think it just helps so much. And everyone's so unique with that.
Yes.
So
Yes,
I,
it's like a giant um, party of encouragement, and it stays with you. I think I carry it with me after the race. It carries me into life.
yeah, yeah. It's
It
so
does.
much fun and it's so cool to have that experience. If you're able to have that experience, I highly recommend taking it and making it the most for yourself, whether that's fun running it, party pacing it, or going after a personal best, whatever that is for you. We are coming off the heels of the Sydney Marathon being the 7th world major now. You ran it last year, which was the year before they qualified it
Mhm.
as a world major, but what was your experience of that course and that race weekend experience?
It was incredible. I say that I speed dated Sydney, because my daughter was in the middle of college recruiting. She's about to be a D1 golfer, so I had to literally squeeze it in. I zipped over there, stayed for 4 days, and zipped back
Ooh,
home. So it's possible, and I actually felt like I really saw Sydney, and it's an incredible. And I have a college girlfriend there, which is wonderful to see. I went with several friends, but it was the age group world championship. So there was a motivation to go. We all were given our stars, a contingency star, which
cool.
was great. I loved the course. I was a little intimidated by the hills
Yeah.
because they talk about the elevation and the
Yeah.
hills. And I thought, gosh, I wonder how that's going to compare to Boston, or, it's an unknown. Every new marathon is an adventure. So I like to embrace that and just I had released the outcomes. It's one of my mindset practices that I do to run free. And so I just wanted to go over there and enjoy that whole experience and opportunity. The weather was great, which is always a bonus. We don't always get that. It
Yeah.
had been very warm the year before. So I found that it was so well run. I would recommend it to anyone. The hills are there. It was hilly and we had a windy
Yeah.
day, But as I like to say, the hills were in the right places, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
it
I didn't
does.
find it as hard as Boston. I thought it was doable. So I would say for anyone considering Sydney, absolutely do it. I will go back 100%. I can't wait to go back. I loved it. And I thought it was a great crowd experience. I thought it was, like I said, very well run. And the hills were in the right places. Don't be too intimidated by that. One thing that messed with my mind a little bit was they didn't have miles and kilometers, so be prepared for that.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a mind practice, at least for me.
Uh-huh.
And the end is just such an epic, beautiful finish at the Opera House. So it's a great city. You can go see a kangaroo and a koala and eat some great food. And I found it to be incredible,
Oh,
really.
that's so cool. I love that so much. Like for context,
Yeah.
the course does have over 1,000 feet of elevation gain, which is more than New York. It's more than Boston. But like
Hmm.
you said, Stephanie, it's like where the hills are placed makes all the difference. And we talk about that with the Boston course all the time. Like the fact that the where the hills are placed on that course, meaning they're between 16 and 21, that's in the gritty part of the race. You're still 10 miles out from Boylston Street at that point at the finish line. And then you start to hit the hills, and it's a really tough way to run 26.2. But if you have those rolling hills that maybe show up a little bit earlier in the race, they're more spread out over the 26.2. It can absolutely make it a much better experience for anyone who maybe has tackled Boston and thought, ooh, hilly courses aren't for me. But it's so cool that you got to have that experience. And I didn't see a whole lot this year from the Sydney race. And I'm not sure if that was just the algorithm, if it was, I wasn't really on social a whole lot over that weekend. But it's really cool to kind of hear your perspective on it too.
Loved it. Loved
Yeah,
it. I would highly recommend it.
that's
Really
so
fun.
great.
And know that I live in Florida and it is very flat in Florida where I
Okay.
live.
Yeah.
And I did not train bridges. I always say I'm going to. And just, I think we can get in our heads about, oh, I have to train for the hills. Yes, it's very helpful. I would
Yeah.
recommend it, but it's not going to kill your race. You're not going to flame out necessarily. So,
Yeah, and there's definitely
mhm,
strategies as a coach that I use with athletes who live in Texas or Florida or in areas of the country that are just super flat if they are running a hillier
mhm.
course, to be able to prepare their muscles, their legs, their mind for just that rolling change of elevation. But I had to laugh when you were talking about kilometers over miles because a lot of times I write long run workouts in miles and Ks. Like maybe they have like mile warm up, mile cool down, but like the marathon quality is in Ks. And I get a lot of questions about it. And I talk to the athletes about how on the course, it is pivotal to kind of know where you are on the Ks versus miles, even if you're racing in the United States, because there's still going to be that sign that pops up that says you're at the 32K, the 40K, and you might be thinking, but I don't actually know where that is.
Your glycogen depletion is so real, and when it kicks in,
Yeah.
and then you see a 25K, and you're like, "Oh,
Where is
I want
that?
it to be 25 miles,"
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
really not even close.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's an advantage for your runners.
Yeah, it's a great practice for anyone listening who is
Mhm.
heading into a fall marathon. But let's jump into, I want to talk about longevity and training and how over the last 30 plus years, you've been able to continue to run marathons. You've been able to stay healthy. You have so much joy and love for the sport that I think a lot of people who get into the sport might have it for a few years and then they burn out and then they don't want to train and they want to shift and pivot and do other things. But at the end of the day, like running is such a longevity sport. Like we want to be able to continue to do this for as long as we are able to do this. It's I think that's a really important aspect of it, whether it's our bodies or our minds telling us that we don't want to do it. So I want to talk about your training philosophy specifically and how that's trained over the last few decades, like what did you focus on in your younger years, maybe in your 20s, early 30s? And then where has your focus shifted now that you're a grandmasters, you're over, which means you're over 50 years old, but you look incredible, by the way.
Thank you.
Um,
That's very sweet.
yeah, like how has it
Oh,
changed over those decades, and what is maybe the biggest thing that has changed or where your focus has changed over the years?
it's a great question. And I will add, yes, I'm dating myself. I'm 55, I'm almost 56 in weeks. So that means when I started running, it was and like I said, 1991 was my first marathon. I had a Timex watch.
Yeah.
I had decent Asics shoes. I've been running in gel
Trainers.
Nimbus for 25 shoes, no plated shoes,
Uh-huh.
no Strava, no Garmin, no gels.
Uh-huh.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine life without gels? No, we didn't have all of the bells and whistles. We didn't have podcasts to learn from. We had Runner's World magazine,
Yeah.
which I don't even think I've subscribed to because I was a student.
Yeah.
And I've recently found a training schedule on one piece of paper written out. I just put in the reps
Yeah.
and I showed up for myself and I did the best that I could, and for me, it was in college at the time. We didn't know about nutrition. And I almost was too naive to think anything different. I just went for it.
Yeah.
And there's a freedom in that too, to
Yeah.
go back to the basics. But I would say I was very primitive in my early years of running. I just ran the best I could. But we have so much now available to us to make us better. So it's amazing. And I'm so grateful to still be running. So I would say what has changed, along with obviously the wonderful training tools that we have, is dialing in my nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
dialing in my mindset, and training my mindset. Mindset to me is not just a daily, like a one time. Let's go have a mindset. Day or a mindset retreat, and then I've checked that off and I'm good. Mindset is, it's a daily practice. It's a
Mm-hmm.
continual practice. Your mind, mind is the most powerful muscle in our body, right? One way or another,
Mm-hmm.
we have to feed it what we want it to have. So I always say feed it. There's a great quote, uh the mind believes what you tell it to, so feed it with truth, feed it with faith, and feed it with love. So
Mm-hmm.
positive affirmations, feeding it, not listening to all the negatives, the narratives, the lies that we can tell ourselves. So mindset is really, really big, and in my course that I'm creating for runners, that's a big part of it. And nutrition is so greatly important. I focus on, obviously, protein's a big buzzword now. Muscles is the muscle of longevity. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, very much focused on strength training at least once a week. Um, Dialing in my protein, really trying to hit 90 to 100 grams a day, and whole foods, clean eating. I'm more of an 80/20. uh,
Yeah.
I cheat 20% of the time, if you want to call it cheating, and really try to focus even when traveling. You can do it. It's a choice. So I would say training smarter too. I never did speed work, or I just ran. And I ran long runs. I mean, I just put the miles in. So then
Uh-huh.
when I realized, oh, I can add speed work, and to get faster, we have to practice running fast, right? So about 10 years ago, I was getting slower in my 40s. I'll mention that. I was getting slower, and I thought, that's what happens, right? We get slower. And I thought, well, let's just see what happens if I hire a coach. I think coaches, even coaches, need coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. And this coach he's fabulous. And he actually started running when he was 50. He's now 78, and
Oh,
he's run his
wow.
age group in Boston multiple times. He's amazing. So I hired a coach, and he created a plan, and we added, speed work once a week, which I have been vigilant about for 10 years. That, I would say, has helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
Consistently with, one day a week of strength training, and then strider work. So training smarter, not necessarily more,
Yeah.
I think, is very important. And I remember him asking me, okay, so what's your 5K, for speed work? What's your 5K pace? And I said, well, I don't run 5Ks. Like, I don't know. I haven't run a 5K since I was 23 or 24.
Right.
He's like, well, I was like, he's 30. So I was like, I don't know. And so sometimes you have to start over with things. So I just picked a number and you can't overthink it too much. So
Yeah,
I started to get faster and then I PR'd at age 53,
that's so
53.
cool.
So and then I ran my fastest Boston this year in 2025. So, we can't put limitations on ourselves because I'm proof.
I know. I
You
think
can. I mean, I didn't expect this. Because
yeah. I think
I
it's
hope it's inspiring for people.
I think so because I think there's such a big there's such a strong messaging around the older we get, the no like we no longer get to be in our prime. Like we no longer get to be faster, stronger, better. But yet when we celebrate birthdays, I think one of the messages that I hear now when we celebrate birthdays is like, I'm really grateful for my age because I've learned so much and I'm going to continue to learn more. Now, this is outside of running. This is maybe more just about life and life
Right,
lessons. But
right.
the same can be true to some extent with running, especially if we do apply it in a smarter, healthier way. I'm really curious about the mindset aspect. So I have two questions. One, did
Mhm.
you have a running journal back in your early 20s? Like, did you write down every day kind of like your run, how it went, what you did? How did you kind of keep track of it? Or did you just go out and run kind of free spirit?
That's a great question, and I would submit to you one thing I would change is that
Oh,
I wish I journaled more.
yeah.
I didn't at all when I was very young. I didn't know any better. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
And now we do know these things. So I would encourage people to journal. I've actually started journaling. I think I started journaling my marathons, which is such a fun exercise to do. You go, but you forget, right? And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
yes, I would say once I started journaling, it's very helpful. So you have information, and that information helps you what worked, what didn't work. What did I, tracking, the weekend leading up or the week leading up to a race, writing, journaling what you eat, journaling how you feel. It's great to go back to. And
Yeah.
that leaves clues for the future. So, yes, I wish I did more. I'm doing it now, and that's all I can do. So
Yay.
it is helpful to look back.
It
It's
is
really fun.
it is super, super
Yeah.
helpful. I
Mhm.
100% agree with it. I think in this day and age, like everyone is just so busy. And with some athletes, it's like incredibly hard for them just to get in like all the miles, right? And then it's like, oh, I need you to also recover. I need some strength training.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I think journaling is one of those aspects that it's like, okay, it's like one more thing outside of all
One.
of it. But what I know to be true is that if you do spend that 5-10 minutes, whether it's a day or over the course of a week, there are going to be small things that you mention in that journaling process that are probably going to be really big things at the end of the cycle when you look back on it. Like you mentioned, clues that you can take with you into your next training cycle to see what you can do to shift, pivot, and show up maybe a little bit different in a way that supports you in your training. And, having been around someone who did journal quite a bit when he ran in college, and then now looking back on all of those workouts and how he felt and the good days, the bad days, the medium, like the okay days, right? And it was really, really cool to see like the workouts and the mindset and kind of what showed up, when it showed up, and the pattern between being healthy and being injured, and what's kind of like around both of those kind of strategies as an athlete or places that you are as an athlete. So like you mentioned, clues are definitely there. I think it's so cool. I'm curious to know about mindset and how your mindset shifted in your 20s going all the way up to where you are now, in terms of, do you feel like the more tools, social media, gadgets, running community, conversations around running, did that have an impact on your mental strength as a runner, or what do you or maybe was it like speed that maybe impacted your mental strength? Like when did you kind of start to see that shift happen? Because I imagine you showed up pretty dang strong on the mental side when you first started running, because I think we all do, because we don't really know what's on the other side, and then we start to dabble a little bit, and then we start to feel maybe that negative self-talk coming up. So like when did you feel like that negative self-talk was starting to come pronounced in your running, and what have you done to kind of shift it? That was a really long question, sorry.
That's a long and awesome question, and I could actually write 3 pages right now. Because I've had, when you run 32 marathons, some things go really right and some things go really sideways.
Yeah.
I've pretty much had every injury and felt all the feels, but that's the beauty of it. It's like
Hmm.
life, they're the same. So can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, I'm going to consolidate it.
Oh,
So
okay.
do you feel like in the age of over the last 30 years, with like technology and gadgets
Mhm,
and data being at the forefront of our running now, do you feel
mhm.
like that impacted any of your mental strength, or and made it maybe a bit more negative? Like you got more in your head, kind of seeing more around running.
Yes. Okay. I I feel that uh, well that okay. I feel that the technology has helped tremendously,
Yeah,
physically, mentally.
right.
I think that I've actually learned. I'm not a Strava person. I'm on Strava, but I heard there's a thing scrolling on Strava. It's like a social media thing where people can compare and you can get locked into that. I didn't even know it was a thing. I'm like
Yeah,
blissfully ignorant to that.
yeah, that's
So
good.
comparison is the thief of joy. So that definitely, I think mentally can be a barrier. I think there was a time where I was comparing myself to myself, which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
equally as challenging,
Yeah.
and that's just comes with time. But I think over time, as I've grown, having children and trying to go back to marathoning. I took some years off. I had a traveling husband. Mentally it was just, okay, I just want to go out and run just so I can kind of manage life. I wasn't even thinking about racing in a certain season. So we have seasons, right? So that's
Yeah.
why it's a little bit of a challenging question, because running shows up for everything when we're inconsistent or when our life changes. Running's always there.
Mm.
We run all the emotions, we run through seasons, we run for things, we all have a different why, which I think is so important to anchor into your why. But I think that mentally, I think it's all about stacking your wins and looking at running as it's all deposits in a bank, right?
Mm. Yeah.
The big bank of life, and also if you have a training block, whether it's a good run or a bad run, you're still depositing, and then you cash in on race day, right? It's
Yeah.
just I don't know. It's just you have to remind yourself of that and celebrate the little wins. Like if you go out and run and you hit a new time, that's a win. If you went out and you did not feel like it and you just got through it, that's a big win. Or if
Mm.
you're starting out running to the stop sign and you made it a half a mile, I mean, that's a win.
Yeah.
And so I think that we need to give ourselves some credit and have grace and just stack those wins. But I think it's a gradual thing. I don't think there was a big shift for me. I think it was just life just happened, and it kept growing with me. I don't know if that's really makes sense, but
It
there
does.
wasn't really a defining line, but I always I always fell in love with the pursuit. And I think that's the beauty. I think that's the secret sauce of running a marathon. It's not necessarily that end goal, it's who you became to
Mm.
get to that finish line or to get to the starting line. There's
Yeah.
so much growth, and it's the hard stuff that makes you grow more. So leaning into all that mentally, I think makes you a stronger runner. And just like I said, it's momentum. Each win you stack makes you stronger and more confident, and you bring that with you to the next race.
Yeah.
right? Does that make sense?
It definitely does. And I think it's really important for our audience to remember that every season's going to be different, right? Like as we
Hmm.
go through seasons in life, our training cycles and our training seasons are also going to be different. They are going to reflect where we are in life and what we're going through, whether we have more stress in our day to day life or we have
Yeah.
less stress. That is going to be impacted. But I am such a big believer in the deposits and making like the training deposits and I talk to my athletes about cashing in on race day, but we also have that
Ah,
savings account. Like we also have that savings account that
oh,
we've been like also depositing. And that is over the course of years and years and years of running. I'm in a season right now of um I wasn't running. I was injured this summer, so I had to take a lot of time off from workouts, time off from running. I'm supposed to be running a major marathon in 5 weeks, and I just got back into workouts like baby workouts like 3 4 weeks ago. And I've come a long way in 3 weeks, and some people have been messaging me about my workouts and just how fast my long run has built back up. And my response is it has been the last 6 years of training consistently and depositing into my savings account where right now I'm withdrawing and I'm taking from that.
yeah.
And it's really carrying me in this season of running and training and what I'm able to do. And whether or not I decide to race the marathon, that's a bit of a separate decision than showing up and being able to run a 20-mile long run. But it is really cool when you can look back and say, all of my work over the last 3 4 6 32 years of running is now paying off, and being able to see that, it's incredibly cool. It's so unique and awesome. And it's one of the cool perks that we have as runners if we are consistent. um, what
Takes patience.
oh my gosh, it does, doesn't
It
it?
really does. Yes.
Um,
Because life is a marathon. So yeah, you're really that's really smart. I love the analogy of the savings account. And I hope you get to that
yeah,
starting line.
yeah.
And I
Oh,
hope it's just muscle memory and, and just release the outcome and go run free and see what happens.
yeah.
It's hard to make those decisions though.
It's it's very hard, and
It's hard.
I'm so not tied to going. I think right now it's like it just feels good to be able to run and to run workouts. And I think, if I do go and decide to race, like the biggest thing I don't want to happen is to like blow up early and then just have like a pretty miserable like
Right.
16 miles. Like that's not what I'm going
No
for,
one wants
but
that. No.
I know.
Don't you wish you had a crystal ball?
I know, I know.
Oh,
But what do you think is like one of the major myths that you've experienced? Maybe you've heard and then you've been able to live it like in real life and kind of prove it wrong about aging and running and all the things that we think happen but don't actually happen.
that's such a great question. And I have a very simple answer. Your PR days are over after 50.
Yeah.
It's just not true.
Well, I
Or
even hear
after
that after
40.
like 45.
40,
Like, I
right,
mean, yeah.
45. Pick a number. Pick a number. Age really is just a number.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, my dad's 90 and still crushing it. It's
Oh,
amazing. My mom's 88 and they're an example.
yeah.
It's so I would say I'm glad I ignored that because I did hear that
Yeah.
45, 50. And when I started to get slower,
Yeah.
I could have just said, this is the way it's going to be, and I'll just hum along, and that's fine. I mean, but
Yeah.
for me, I just had a stir, and I had a desire, and I wanted to see what was out there and what I was capable of. So,
Yeah.
I just am a big believer of not putting limitations on ourselves and being a possibilist thinker.
Yeah.
So I went for it, and I would say it was not a race where I anticipated PRing. I had a plan. I've had that blow up, but I went to Berlin. My dad had actually was in grave health, and he had just gotten out of the hospital.
Oh,
I wasn't going to go, and every day in the hospital, he said, you're going to Berlin." I'm like, "All right, Daddy, I'm going to run for you. We're going." But I showed up in Berlin, jet lagged. I was never more exhausted for a marathon, and weighted heavily emotionally. I was just
yeah.
drained. I was exhausted physically, emotionally. I was just there with a big why and a big passion, and I couldn't wait to run Berlin. I had never run it before. And I ran a 3:16, and I couldn't wait to go home and give him that medal. I mean, sometimes we do
Wow.
our best work when we least expect it,
Yeah.
and when we release from those outcomes.
Mhm.
And sometimes things just align. The weather was great, and my
Right.
body was injury free, and so we can't always we have to control the controllables, and sometimes
Yeah.
things just line up, and that day it did, and it was beautiful. But I was not prepared. I wasn't preparing for that in a good way, because so sometimes we can do our best work when we least expect it. So
Yeah, I think we
mhm,
often as runners get in our heads and we kind of self-sabotage, or we feel like we can't do
mhm,
something, or we make something into such a bigger thing than what it really is, especially when
mhm.
we get to race day. In marathons, because marathons don't come around very often. Like the 5K, you're able to race frequently if you want to
Yes.
and make it a really fun season of
Yeah.
racing and training hard and getting in those VO2 workouts and seeing what's possible. And with marathons, it's quite the opposite, where you can invest maybe one or two marathon cycles a year if it's like a big, 12, 16-week cycle where you are super dedicated to it and you want to stay happy and healthy. Then, on race day, I think there's just more pressure that comes with that. But
Mhm.
what I know to be true is that the more we can race, even if we're in a marathon training cycle, if we can get into those tune ups and get into those shorter race distances and use them as speed work, it does help us minimize the importance of marathon day. And I think you
Mhm.
did a great job with that at Berlin of being like, I'm showing up, I'm going to let go, let be, and, and see what happens.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, All right. Sorry, it looks like your recording stopped, but I think you're
I'm so
back.
sorry.
Okay.
I got a phone call, an emergency. I'm on Do Not Disturb, but I got a phone call, and I just had to from
Okay.
my daughter, so I had to stop it. I'm so sorry.
You're okay. You're okay.
Okay.
Okay. I want to quickly talk about cross training. We have talked about strength
Yeah.
training, and
Mhm.
you've incorporated strength training into your routine, and that makes such a big impact,
Yes.
especially as a female runner who
Mhm.
is getting older. We can really protect our bones. We can get healthy. We can get strong. We can have better balance, and it all helps us at not just in our running, but in day to day life. Do you cross train? Has that been something that you've supplemented with some of your running routine over the years?
Yes. So I feel that one day of recovery day, complete rest day, is hugely important. And cross training one day a week for me is hugely important as well. I tend to swim, walk, um, do elliptical. I always say I'm going to do yoga, and I don't, but I think yoga for runners is excellent. I find that biking and swimming are excellent cross training because it can help us with our cardio and our VO2 max and so forth. So yes, I'm a big believer in that. If I were to say the number one cross training um, modality would be strength training, because I think that
Mhm.
as we age, just that power and that longevity will show up. I think it translates very much, just like speed work does, to marathoning. And you only need one day a week. I aim for 2 to 3, but rarely do I get there because life gets a little busy. But you don't have to. It doesn't have to be a long hour-long workout, but 30 minutes one day a week really can help. So you don't want to throw it all
Yeah.
out the door if you can't just get in one. I would say 2 days a week is ideal, but yes, cross training is huge.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Hmm.
I think the body just recover a little bit faster. It keeps your
Hmm.
mind refreshed too, going into that next run. And there's so many great benefits to it where you can still build that aerobic foundation and continue
Hmm.
to get stronger in the sport, which is so cool to see. Um,
And I'll say one thing about
yeah,
that too with cross training. When I find that you also have to really listen to your body. That's a something to be mindful of, especially as we age and as life hits. You know, if you have little ones and you're running around after them, or if you know, in my life, I'm on my feet a lot with our daughter who is a junior golfer, and golf tournaments are, you know, they're long days. I'm on my feet walking 6.5 miles on a golf course.
yeah,
Um, Sometimes the day or day after a long run, and I have to take my recovery days and my cross training days really seriously. So sometimes that means if you're really, really tired after a long run and your body's like, I just need a day off, take the day off, even though it's a cross training day. Go on a light walk, do a light stretch. So I think listening to your body can also be under the cross training category,
yeah.
especially as we age. You know, you wake up with aches and pains that you didn't have when you were 35, and that's okay.
Definitely. It's definitely a one percenter where listening to your body is that 1% that's going to get you, in a different place, I think, at the end of the training cycle. And
Mhm.
a lot of times when we ignore what our body's trying to tell us, whether it's, you know, body cues, you're feeling things while you're running, maybe it's the recovery aspect, it all kind of works either together for or against you one way or another. So, like, just listening to your body is such a big piece to becoming a mature endurance runner. I think I think early on when we get into running, it can be kind of hard to know like what's normal, what's not normal. But the more we
Right.
do it, I think the easier it is to know, okay, this is a slightly off from what feels normal. And putting the ego aside and really leaning into what's best for you for that day.
That's a great point. I think one of the many things that running has given me is learning and being in tune with my body. Don't you
Mhm.
feel that way? You
Yeah.
learn, you get to know it really well, and you
Yeah.
know its little cues. And I always say, listen to your body whisper before it screams. You
Yeah.
know, so and I don't know how your injuries have come on, and sometimes they just come on like a hot mess, and then sometimes they're gradual, and we might not listen to the little whispers.
Yeah.
But I know I've been guilty of that too.
Yeah.
But listening to your body is definitely should be on the list.
Yeah. I would say,
Hmm.
like, my recommendation for anyone who is pretty healthy or resilient, anytime you start to feel a niggle, which is what happened to me, I was healthy for 10 plus years. Like, I thought it can't happen to me. Like it can't because it hasn't. And whatever
Yes.
I'm feeling is going to go away. It's just a niggle. Because I've had niggles before and they've gone away. And it's never been a thing where I've had to adjust training and stop running and all the things. So I think to anyone out there who's thinking it can't happen to me or it's not happening to me, really like leaning into what is actually happening versus what you think is happening. And I think things will be a lot smoother in your training process. And I have definitely learned a lot over the last few months regarding this. But what would you say is one of your non running secrets for staying healthy and injury free? Like we can lean into more of that recovery conversation. Maybe it's nutrition, maybe it's sleep. What would you say is kind of that top secret?
Well, I'm not very good at sleep, so that's not one of my secrets.
Well, it's the number one recovery tool, Stephanie.
I know. We all are learning. We're all growing. That's on my growth list.
I know.
I have added something, a new website called CompleteFocus.com. It's been a game changer for me. They have breath work techniques and meditation, and then some brain games. But I've been putting that on like in the middle of the night. You know, when you're 50, your sleep is not really the best anyway, but I'm just not good at it. So that has helped me. Breath work, meditation. But anyway, that's that.
Yeah.
I should be better at that. I would say there are a few things. I would say my making your easy days easy and your hard days hard. I think
Mhm.
there's a misnomer that, oh, I have to, if I want to run faster, I have to run faster in every workout and run fast in my long runs. I don't agree with that.
Mhm.
I believe that, I have specific intentional workouts that really have proven to help me. My speed work day is hard. The next day, I have a light, easy run. I don't even look at my time. I
Yeah.
sometimes slow it down.
Yeah.
And then I go in hard on Thursdays. I'll do some mile repeats, take Friday off. And then Saturday, I do a strider run. And then I go into my long run on Sunday and take Monday, cross train, rest, whatever. So it's a on and off intentional way so that your body can you reap the benefit of all the work it's done and recharge. It's like recharging our phone, right? We have to
Yeah.
recharge our muscles and our tendons and our bodies. I would say recoveries. I wear compression socks. You will never see me on a run without compression socks. I don't even
Yeah.
think I own regular socks anymore. They've helped tremendously with circulation. I mean, I wore them on the plane all the way to Sydney. They've really helped
Yeah.
recovery, and they're cute and they're fun. Or you can go plain, but massage. I have the most amazing running buddies, and four of us run marathons, and we went in on a pair of compression boots. So we rotate the compression boots around. I love those.
Yeah.
And Epsom salt baths, I would say, might be close to the top of the list.
Yeah.
And if I don't have time or if I'm traveling, I bring magnesium gel with me, and
Mm.
you can rub it all over just like you would lotion. And it's kind of like getting a salt soak. So that has been a big recovery tool for me. I do take supplements to stay healthy. I take Armra and vitamin C, and I get blood work regularly, which I would recommend to people to see where your body might be deficient. I think some people don't like supplements, some people do. I think we're all different,
Yeah.
but that has helped me stay healthy. I haven't been sick in 5 years. Protein is a big non-running focus. That's been understated for the last few decades, and I think that's
Yeah.
been a big help knowing and learning just how valuable that is. And then when you have added protein and hydration, and then you add in your strength training, you're just going to help your muscles be stronger and healthier. So
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say those would be my my non-running tips.
I love that. And I think the protein one is such an amazing tip because Megan Featherston, registered dietitian, she was on the podcast at the beginning of the year, so in January, and she was talking about how protein is that number one recovery secret for masters runners. And I think
Hmm.
we kind of are in this weird, maybe like limbo of, well, wait, I've been told I need to eat a lot of carbohydrates as an endurance runner. So I'm going to
Yes,
focus in on those carbohydrates. But then we kind of miss out on the protein aspect. And that is crucial for recovery. And one of the things that I do, it is like second nature at this point, is that I have a protein shake packed in a cooler every time I leave for a workout in a long run, like if I'm driving to the workout long runs, and it's in my car, it's ready to go. So I have that. I'll do like a cherry Bundy tart cherry juice, like little packet, and then have a carbohydrate of maybe like some fruit or something like that. Maybe some pumpkin bread, like gluten-free pumpkin bread, or just
oh
something like
yeah.
tasty to have in the car. So when I finish a workout or a long run, immediately I'm consuming protein and then carbohydrates. Within 5 minutes of clicking save on the Garmin watch, which is great. And it does make me feel better the next day. And I really notice those days when I don't prioritize my fueling, or maybe,
Hmm.
yeah, life gets busy. I'm not really paying attention to it as much as I should. It definitely makes a really big difference. So I highly recommend. The protein tip is huge. And for more specific information on that, go back to the beginning of the year in January with Megan Featherston. That was a really fun
That's great.
conversation.
That's great. And one thing too, like I said, I travel a lot, and for those that are on the go, I have what I call my little travel buddies. I have my little vitamin packs, but I really love Creatures of Habit. I don't know if you've heard, it's a protein oat, and
Yeah.
then overnight oats. I have them on auto ship, love them, and you can travel with them. You just add water, and you can bring protein powder, add to it. You can essentially get 50 grams of protein in one little shaker. And then I got my green powders, and I feel like if you've got those things,
Yeah.
you're winning. You
Yeah.
know, if you can just if you can just, now I get tired of them and I get tired of the power bars, but if you can just carry those with you wherever you go, whether it's traveling to a long run or traveling, you can really keep your body dialed in.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I had to laugh because there's this really great like real online. It used to be a Vine back in the day, which is like maybe 15 years ago, and
Yeah.
it's a girl called her name's Katie Ryan. You can find her on YouTube. And at the time she was like 2 or 3 years old. And there's a jogger, like a runner running past her home, and she's out on her front stoop and her parents got this on video and she's waving to this runner with like a big smile on her face and she's like, you're winning at life, you're winning. And it is like the cutest thing. And I send it to my friends all the time when I'm like, you are winning at life. Like, this is so good. So that just
That's
popped into my
great.
mind. You should
That's
Google it, everyone listening. Um,
great.
what is your top lesson that you've learned from running 30 marathons? Specifically, maybe like a lesson that you've learned over the last 5 years as you are getting older, as you are being more specific and more intentional about your training. What is maybe one lesson that's popping into your mind that, like, yes, this is what I've learned from this season of life?
I have a very long list of things that running has taught me, and that is one of the many reasons why I'm so passionate about it. I think that in this season, being a possibilist thinker and thinking kind of unrealistic, go for it. Just go. If you have an intention, don't limit yourself. Break up with limitations. Just throw them out the door because age is just a number.
Yeah.
Do your best, show up for yourself, do the reps, and see what happens. I also think that it's taught me I'm stronger than I think. And every time I do something really hard, I realize, oh my gosh, yeah, I did that. And you bring that to the next hard thing, whether it's life or your next race or your next hard run or your injury when you're in the dumps and you just really don't want to be uh, in a setback. You carry that with you. So I would say,
Yeah.
it's all mental. I think running helps us do life better. It helps us be stronger, but to lean into that.
Yeah, the life lessons
Mhm.
between life and running are interchangeable. And I really recommend if you're kind of struggling in one area to look at the area that you are excelling in and seeing how you show up in that way and apply it to the other area of life. So if you're really excelling in running and you're feeling like, gosh, I just
Mhm.
can't find balance with life,
Mhm.
look how you show up to running and what you're doing there and why it's working and apply those same lessons to life and vice versa and just see what happens.
That's
Um,
great advice.
I think it can be a really cool experiment. I want to talk a little bit more about mindset and
Mhm.
motivation. How do you deal with kind of the ups and downs of running as you get older? And do you see like more of your stronger days kind of decline? Are you seeing more kind of like B or average days, or maybe more of those tired days? Or how does it kind of look for you now?
That's a great question. I think it all depends on what's going on in my life.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm, like I said, if I'm not sleeping well or we're traveling and I'm physically putting in a lot into, like I said, my daughter's golf tournament, and I get, by the end of those days I'm wiped,
Yeah.
and I have to say to myself, okay, make a choice. Don't go out tonight or get to bed early or manage, pivot, and be good to yourself. Give yourself a little TLC, take that Epsom salt bath, take a beat. Because yes, I feel like recovery, it is all a build. I think if you're feeding your brain all the right things and truly the mantras, the self-talk, the affirmations, are really powerful.
Mhm.
But then there's also the physical. If you're feeding your body nutrient dense food and you're getting as much rest as you can. I'm not, like I said, I'm not great at sleep. If you're doing all those things, there you put them all together and it does help. But yes, I have days where I'm just like I'm exhausted and I didn't feel like that, 15, 10, 5 years ago. But you power through and you listen to your body. I mean, obviously you have to know when too much is too much. And some days,
Mhm.
like even today, I wasn't feeling it and I had a really hard workout. I dialed it back. I did about three-quarters of the workout and I left it and I moved on and I know it's fine. So I think just pivoting and managing, but yes, I do feel that some days you don't feel great and some days you wake up with an ache and a pain and you think, where did that come from? Or getting off of a plane, um, aches and pains are there, just expect them. And I don't know, I just don't focus too much on it. I just expect it and lean into it and just power through and know that I'm just going to keep showing up and do the best that I can. And that's enough,
Yeah. I
you know?
love that mindset. I love like the days when you know you need to shift the workout that
Hmm.
you just click the check mark on the day and you're like, it is what it is. I'm not thinking about it anymore. Tomorrow's a
Hmm.
new day. We hit reset and we move forward. It's
Yeah.
how I show up to training. And it's one of the things that my coach loves most about me because I can separate the hard days from the good days, but I do let the good days kind of carry me, if that makes sense. Like
Mm.
I can really build off that. It's like mood follows action. My action of running, a really strong day, my mood is fantastic and I'm like I want to carry that into the workout and I want to carry it into my next long run. And that's really exciting. But those days that just don't jive, you just got to chalk it up to life and be like, it is what it is. It has nothing to do with me or who I am as a person or as a runner. It just is the day and move
Hmm.
on. It's a huge lesson that I think a lot of athletes still need to learn as they go
You,
through training. But, it
you
takes time.
can't, yeah, exactly. You can't slay every day.
Yeah.
You just can't. You cannot PR every marathon.
Yeah.
It's just not
It's
going
not
to
gonna
happen.
happen. No, it's not gonna
And
happen.
that's okay.
Unfortunately, we sign.
That'd be nice, but
Yeah, I feel like we sign this invisible contract when we decide that we're going to train for races. It's the contract that no one talks about that like there are going to be the hard days, there are going to be the races that you're not PRing, that you don't feel the way you want to feel. That is part of the process. Just like with life, we have seasons in life that are a bit more down than up. We're a bit more, sad than joyful, or we're more secluded than being out and about. And that's all part of it, to be able to show up to eventually be like our best self, best
yeah.
life, best race day.
And that's what it's
Um,
all about,
yeah,
right? And I'll share with you one story. I have a number of tough marathons, but my one marathon back in 2001, I ran LA and
yeah,
I dragged my two little toddlers across the country and my husband, and there we were. And I had trained so hard and I was ready to go back to Boston and I had taken a few years off. And I had trained really hard. I was going for like a 3:10, 3:15, and I just nailed every work. I mean, everything just went like smooth as
perfect,
silk.
right?
And
Yeah.
I show up and I think, okay, this is going to be great. And I get so sick. I am just sick, sick, sick. Like I
Mm,
should have been in bed sick, the flu, head cold. I mean, I had the chills. It was not good. And I thought, I just worked for 5 months so hard with little kids, traveling husband. You put, like we
yeah,
said, you put so much into that day.
yeah,
And I remember saying to myself, well, think of all those Olympic athletes that train for 4 years for one day. This is all
yeah.
right. I'm going to be, so I put a little perspective in there. I showed up, I ran the race, I got a stitch in my side the first half a mile. And I just went downhill as the race went on, and I think I ran a
Mm,
3:48. I did not qualify for Boston, but I still felt a little like Superwoman. I was like, you
mm,
know what? I just ran a marathon. You kind of have to sometimes we have to pivot in the middle of a race. Sometimes we have to pivot before a race or at the start line. But I'm so glad that I did it, and it wasn't, I didn't harm my health. Of course, we
Mhm.
have to be wise about these things, but those things happen. Happens
Yeah.
to all of us, and it's still a win because that day I got mentally stronger.
Yeah.
I really did. It
Well,
was
and
hard.
I think it's like important to reshift the 26.2 as something that is really hard to do.
Mhm.
Whether you're jogging it or racing it, it's hard regardless.
Yes.
And I think we get, as a running community, we don't talk about that enough because it's so outcome oriented focus where it's like, oh, I didn't hit a PR. This was like the worst day. Where it's like, no, you still did something that most people don't do. It's still a very
Mhm.
hard thing. And it doesn't take anything away from your fitness. If anything, you've just have
Mhm.
grown as an athlete. You've grown as a human over the last 3, 4, 5 months of that training cycle. And you can take what you've learned into the next training cycle and see what
Mhm.
happens there.
Yep.
Um, what advice well, let me back up. What was would you say like that race was like your hardest mindset that you've had to overcome? Or was there another is there something else kind of popping up in your last few decades of running where your mindset was like truly tested on overcoming something difficult?
Great question. Loaded question. I have two. I can share one
Yeah.
because one was probably slightly worse than the other. 2000, for all those that ran 2018 Boston, I was there and it was brutal, brutal.
Yeah.
And I was dreading from the start. You know, you're 26 miles away and there's only one way in,
Oh yeah.
and that was tough. I was healthy, but that was a really tough mental race, and I just had to choose uh, confidence and choose belief. And they
Yeah.
happened to dance well together. And then, you know, people had hypothermia that day, and it was rough. But I just locked and loaded, and that was a big growth day too, and finished strong. It was fine, but that was tough. That was when Des Linden won.
Yeah.
So that was a tough race, but again, it was a
Yeah.
big deposit in the bank. My hardest marathon was not that long ago, New York 2022, I think, or 23. And I hadn't been back to New York in 30 years.
Wow.
And I was there with my running buddies, and leading up, I trained really well, ended up with a stress fracture in
Oh.
my foot. And I have a fabulous podiatrist. So obviously, this is not a recommendation. I'm not saying go run on a stress fracture, but I had
Totally.
checked with my doctor and he said, listen, you can run this race. It's not going to hurt your foot. Wear your plate. We didn't have plated shoes, back in the day. So I'd had a stress fracture before. He said, wear your race shoes. You'll be fine. It's going to hurt, but we'll put you in a boot for 8 to 10 weeks after. It ended up being fine. I healed after. And I said, okay, I'm going to run this race. So every step was pain.
Wow.
And I said to myself going into that weekend, mind over foot. That is my mantra.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. I was determined. It was just sheer will, I think.
Yeah.
But it was, I didn't know what was going to happen. So that was just one of my issues. That was pain. I got through it. Uh, I ended up getting sick on the Queensboro Bridge. It was very warm and
Oh.
I had eaten a hot gel, so I got sick. I collided with a runner and fell at a water station,
Oh,
which
wow.
I've never done.
Yeah.
And something that's never done, I had 3 panic attacks. So we're not going to talk about why I had a panic attack. Everything went wrong. So
Wow.
I learned in the moment how valuable breath work is.
Yeah.
And because I thought to myself, I have a choice here. I either stop and it's all over. I just knew I was just going to spiral down. Everything was going wrong and I was in pain. And I thought, you know what? I just made a choice. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I get to Central Park and I was literally talking to my legs and talking to my body. I was cramping up. It was pretty miserable, but the feeling of crossing that finish line was quite astounding and painful, but I did it and I carried that with me, that strength. So if
Mhm.
anyone finds themselves in a really abysmal situation, just do what you can, if it's walking, if it's running, whatever it is, and know, and I did carry that strength with me, and it was definitely a mind muscle workout
Yeah.
that served me well later. But I definitely had a recovery after that, so
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah,
it's a
that's
tough
super
day.
super scary, and I think sometimes,
Yeah.
it's like when multiple things start to go wrong, it's like, hold on, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this is the universe telling me to slow down. But mind over matter on that one. What
Yes.
advice well, let me quickly back up. Like, for those wondering, 2018 Boston was a very rainy, cold Boston, correct?
With
Like,
30-mile-an-hour headwinds.
yeah, so
It was pretty brutal.
it was pretty brutal, and for anyone that ran it, like, it was just a sufferfest the entire time of weather sufferfest. And
Perfect word.
yeah, I mean, I was standing in the corral in 2023 with some friends, and it had started to rain. It was cloudy. It was like cooler. And I had done so much research on the 2018 year of like, because that week going into it, we knew it was probably going to be rainy and stuff, that I like did too much research, and I thought for sure I underdressed and I was going to be cold and I was going to get hypothermia. None of it happened. It was fine. It was a colder Boston day, and it definitely rained for most of the race, but definitely a different experience than what you had in 2018. What advice would you give to the younger runner who is worried about losing speed and maybe worried about losing their performance as they get older?
I would say do control the controllables. Do what you can for, your nutrition, your mindset, and your wise training. But I would
Yeah.
say a lot of it is mental. Never forget what you're capable of. Like, you have
Mhm.
everything inside of you to run for a long time. And obviously injuries happen, hiccups happen, but don't let them uh, defeat you. And just, like I said, break up with your limitations and just go for it. I think challenges make us stronger, and they're kind of
Yeah.
they're what build our internal fortitude. And I think as we get older, we kind of need a little bit more of that. But
Yeah.
it's fun. I think just having fun with it too. Don't take yourself too
Yes.
seriously. I think there's a tendency with athletes that strive and want to do everything right. We can get too bogged down with worrying and am I doing this enough and am I doing that enough and I've got to hit this
Mhm.
time. Just give yourself grace. Don't take yourself too seriously, and don't forget it's fun. This is supposed to be joy and
Yeah.
making us better. So kind of taking a step back, kind of a
Yeah.
drone view
It's
would
so,
be my
so,
advice.
so important to do that,
Hmm.
even when things aren't clicking and you feel like training might be, you know, feeling a lot harder than it should. You might even want to double down on being like super focused and everything has to be perfect and it has to be the right way. But that's just going to take more fun and joy away from it. And it's going to make
Yeah.
running feel even harder. So, having that fun aspect is such a big component, whatever that is for you. Like, for me right now, it's like running to music and singing out loud, and I have like upper body dance moves on the boulder bike path, like, and it's fun and it makes people laugh and smile who I'm running with and others, who see me, and make it what you need to make it. I think that's one of the most important things.
I
My
say too, and also one thing too, sorry,
Yeah.
the comparison thing in
Mm,
life and in running is something that I think we need to be mindful not to do. Just don't compare yourself to what you feel like you should do, or obviously get in that trap of comparing yourself to others. Like, we're all
yeah.
out there just trying to do the best we can do. Just you know, set a goal for yourself and stay in your own lane and enjoy it and embrace it.
Yeah.
And also know that when you set out for that, you have that clean plan of your whatever it is, your 16, 20-week plan. It is not going to look, it's going to be all scratched up and edited by the time you finish that 20-week plan.
Yep.
It's never going to look like you set it out to. And I
Yeah.
think that's something if you're new to running, I mean, I don't think have you ever had a training block that looks just right? And
Oh,
it's
I had one, and then the
you
race was a dud. So that's
oh,
typically what
see?
happens. Yes, yes, yes. When you don't
So,
shift, you don't pivot. The training plan
yeah.
gets to be written in pencil. That's a big piece to all of this, meaning
Yeah.
it's flexible, it's fluid, you can move things around.
And it's
Um,
okay. Yes.
yeah, because if you
Mhm.
do have that perfect cycle, which is one in a million, maybe. I mean, it doesn't happen often. I don't see athletes really ever have it. My coach pointed it out to me, like when we were in taper, of just like how perfect it was. Typically what happens is that the race can't come together because everything was just so dialed. There was nothing to like help that athlete go through any adversities that come up or anything that
Mhm.
might happen because the training was perfect, the intervals were perfect, everything was the way it should be. So it's a really big piece. I think anytime that we can get thrown off maybe what we think we're supposed to be doing, or we have to shift and pivot in the moment, it's actually a really good thing because that
It
is going to
is.
happen on race day.
And almost expect it too. I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought this up because there's two mindset components that I think looking back have really stayed true and consistent. So you have the one you're talking about with the training,
Yeah.
and on race day, it's going to hurt at some point.
Yeah.
I don't think you
We
have
don't talk about that, do
met
we?
anyone who has run a marathon that was like, "Psh, that was easy, no problem." Even if you walk it, I think that's exhausting at the end. So
Yeah.
the pain's going to come, right? Expect it and be ready for it. And then I like talk to it. You could even like name it, like it's over here, it's a thing. And then it's not waiting on you. Like when the pain comes, like if I'm on Heartbreak Hill and I'm like, okay, here we go, just be like, okay, what took you so long? Great, game on, let's go.
Yeah.
We've got this. And like stay ahead of it. And then then step into your power, which we all have. Like I'm no different than you or anybody else. We don't
Yeah.
have any extra sparkle in our cupcakes. It's just the practice of speaking into yourself that is so simple, but it's so powerful, and it's just a habit. So I wanted to make note of that because it's a hard thing, but it's such a fun and great thing.
Yeah.
That if you step into that power and just expect things to be hard, then they don't seem as hard, and you
Yeah.
feel more powerful when you can conquer them, I think.
One of my favorite tips from a mental strength coach in Denver, his name is Dr. Justin Ross, is anytime you're in a workout, long run race, and you think this is hard, because that's typically the first thing we think, right?
Right. Yeah.
Switching hard to intense, and it immediately removes this
Mhm.
pressure that we put on ourselves with the word
Yeah.
hard versus intense. It's supposed to be intense.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be intense at mile 23 of the marathon. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be that way. And if we can welcome it and we don't resist it, we're more likely to be able to run to the best of our ability at that moment. And what a privilege it is to be able to get to do that too.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, we're not training for it to be easy. We're training to tolerate it, right?
Yeah.
And manage it. So that's a great point. I like that.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
absolutely loved this conversation. I feel like we can keep talking
I
all
know.
afternoon.
I know.
Maybe
Thank
we have
you.
you
Thank
back
you
on the
so much for
on
this
the podcast.
opportunity. It's been really fun.
Yeah, this has been so awesome. Where can our audience find you online if they want to connect with you and share stories and learn more about you?
Yes, excellent. So, Run with Redness is my. You can find me on Instagram, and then my website is runwithredness.com. I've got some free resources on there when it comes to mindset. I have my nutrition guide, so what I have in my pantry, and I'm on Pinterest as well. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Awesome.
So,
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Stephanie. Thanks everyone for listening, and I'll see you again next week.
thank you so much. Bye, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye.